Some significant changes in the Dow Jones Industrial Average last week. Some companies dropped, some were added. To talk about it and give us some perspective in this morning's U.S. Bank Economic 360, we are joined by our friend Mike Denneman, who is U.S. Bank Vice President and Senior Portfolio Manager. Mike, I'm so glad you're here to talk about this.
Good morning, Brian.
We all watch the Dow. I check it on my smartphone several times a day, but I don't know what constitutes the Dow. Give us a snapshot.
Sure. So it is at base, of course, a stock market index, so a gauge of how the market is performing. It's, as you say, very widely known. We hear about it on the news every day, and certainly one of the oldest. It dates back to 1896, and it gets its name from the Dow Jones Company, the publisher of the Wall Street Journal. It is important because it represents some of the largest, most blue-chip companies in the U.S. Names we've all heard of: Procter & Gamble, Coke, Microsoft. It even retains one of the original 1896 companies in General Electric. But it's a very narrow slice of the market, only 30 stocks out of the thousands that trade, but it gets a lot of notoriety because of the importance of the companies that constitute it.
So is it safe to say that it has changed or morphed over the years? And why so now? Why the changes now, do you think?
Sure. Well, I mean, if you looked at the complexion of the index 50, 60 years ago, it would be completely different. Of the 30 companies, you'd have a handful of steel companies, a lot of heavy industrial, so very much a Rust Belt type of economic picture. Fast forward to today, and you find the Dow still has some heavy industry in there, but more technology companies, more retail and consumer-oriented companies. So a challenge for Dow Jones is to keep the index relevant, and that's why we see them make some minor adjustments from time to time. Although last week's changes were notable because at the sheer number of them, 6, 3 companies in, 3 companies out, for such a small index is a very large number. In fact, it's the most changes we've seen in a decade.
Yeah, that's significant. So here's the big question: who got the boot? Who's invited in?
Sure. So we've got a graphic that shows the 6 changes. So the companies going out are Alcoa, Bank of America, and Hewlett-Packard, and then Goldman Sachs, Nike, and Visa coming in. So in some ways, this is, changing out of the old guard. Alcoa, for instance, has been in the index since 1959. It also is, a removal of some companies that have perhaps lost some luster in recent years. HP, for instance, has really struggled with the declining PC market. Bank of America naturally has had some trouble in the wake of the financial crisis. And it's a continuation of that shift away from the sort of Rust Belt mentality. When you swap out an aluminum company for an apparel company, it's pretty clear what's going on there. So on the flip side, you look at the names coming in, like Nike, Visa, perhaps perceived to be more cutting edge, certainly more marketable. Probably didn't hurt their chances that they're more appealing to a younger demographic. But I think what Dow Jones is saying is, although we still call this an industrial average,
it's not industrial anymore, is it?
That's right. It's more reflective of an economy that's become more centered around the consumer.
All right, they want to know upstairs if they should buy Twitter. That's not on the Dow Industrial.
It's not.
No. All right, Mike, we appreciate that. Very good clarifications.